everyone. It's Ryan from Rocky Mountain Cigar Show, back for another Thursday night live show. I just got to say thank you to everybody that watches this show. It allows me to do this every single Thursday. I get to meet absolutely fantastic people and even have them want to come back, like our guest tonight. And so the guest tonight's a good friend. He's great. Everybody knows him. Hector Alfonso, Senior, from Espinosa. But before we bring him on, we're going to go ahead and take care of the more beginning of the show maintenance. And that is a big shout out and thank you to all the sponsors that really make this show halfway possible. And that's BAMF Cigars, ROCF Cigars, Kristoff Cigars, K by Karen Berger Cigars, Sagrado Cigars, New Air Humidors. If you're looking for a humidor, in the description you will see a 15% off promo code for the New Air Humidors. Micallef Cigars, Big Sky Cigars, Cornell and Diehl pipe tobacco, as well as tonight we are going to be drinking the Axe and the Oak rye. We'll get into what cigars we're smoking here in a little bit. But I tell you what, if everybody that watches this show would like to come to Colorado in July, please do so. And while you're in Colorado, let's go ahead and have you go to eventbrite.com and get tickets to Rocky Mountain Cigar Night. This is a charity that my partner and I started. My partner, Tony, who owns Casbar Lafayette and Casbar Parker. And let me kind of scoot over a little bit here. Casbar Lafayette and Casbar Parker. And it is all to benefit Shadow Warriors Project, which is an absolutely fantastic organization that supports our vets with medical costs and support dogs, PTSD dogs. Pretty much if somebody needs a dog to do something for them and that dog can be trained, Shadow Warriors Project tries to make that happen. Tickets are only $150. Last year, we were giving away 9 cigars with the ticket. We're hoping to replicate that. It has a full open bar, complimentary cigars, like I said, and we're doing a challenge coin. Last year's challenge coin was made by our good friend Jerome Barry. I'll show it here in a second. We're going to be having live music like we did last year as well, plus a live and silent auction. And like I said, all proceeds will go to Shadow Warriors Project. So jump over to eventbrite.com, search Rocky Mountain Cigar Night, and come and join us. And did I happen to mention it's at an actual real castle in Colorado that was built in the 20s? This is the coin from last year that we were able to do. And this coin, and then here's the new glasses, which have a back sponsorship from Axe and the Oak, and then our logo here on the front. And then the coin sits right over the top, and Axe is the topper. So we got a lot of fun stuff. We've got maybe one of the coolest things that will happen if we can actually get it pulled off will be happening at this event, something that I know most people don't get an opportunity to actually see in person. So more on that at the event. You're going to have to show up. We're going to have great manufacturers' items. But enough of my babbling on, as nobody comes here to really listen to me. They come here to listen to the guest, and we have a fantastic guest. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Hector, how you doing, buddy?
Ryan, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Letting me continue the book tour that I've been on since 2012.
I know you do a lot of these shows, my friend.
I do. Listen, this is the as the White House press secretary, it's very important to get the message out. So yeah, I do a lot of these shows. But listen, it's part of what we've done since the beginning. We're a company that was formed. We got our start in 2012, and we embraced social media from day one. And embracing social media is not just embracing the people on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. It's also embracing the people who do shows in cigar media, and they talk about your cigar and talk about the cigar industry, and it's nice to be able to get in there and talk about your brand and stay current, because I firmly believe that in this world, this day and age, especially if you once you've made your presence known on social media, you cannot be out of sight or out of mind. You have to be there. We are truly actors on the stage, and it's important that if you're a fan of Eric or Jax or Junior or Richie's or even myself, that that every once in a while we'll be somewhere talking about our brand, talking about what we've been up to, and interacting and being with our people one way or another.
Absolutely. And you guys are one of the brands that, I mean, you have three big names in the cigar world working at your company. You have Jack, and you have Eric. And so the fact that all three of you are out and about and travel as much as you do and get to the shops and do the meet and greets, like that's a big deal. That allows
Listen,
people to feel close.
Ryan, I'll go a step further. I'll tell you, we really, for a company of our size, we have a five-headed monster. I mean, listen, there was two times in the last year where Jack, myself, Eric, Richie, and Junior were all at different locations doing Espinosa events. I mean, that's a huge advantage. I mean, that's talking about being able to space yourself out. And I was in the Northeast. I mean, I'm sorry, I was in the Southwest and Southeast. Up, yeah, North. I'm sorry, Northwest. I was in the Northwest. Eric was in the Southeast or in the Northeast. Richie was, I think, in Texas. Junior was somewhere in South Florida. We were everywhere. We were all throughout the country, and that's just the guys who are part of the company. That's not counting the in-house guys who are constantly doing cut-in lights. We have three in-house guys who are fantastic, who are really dedicated to the company and who are really, I know because I do their cut and light flyers for them. Once a week, twice a week. They're going here, they're going there. They're putting miles on their cars. They're transversing America, my friend, to get the message out.
So before we get any further in here, I've got to throw up our "What Are You Smoking Tonight" segment here, sponsored by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Tonight, I am smoking the Laraja Lancero. Hector, what are you smoking?
I am smoking this year's iteration of the Six Provinces. It's called Camagüey CMW. It's a cigar that came out last year at the show. We released a lot of cigars at the show last year. Plus, we were caught up in the wave, which was the release of the Guy Fieri's knuckle sandwich, the Guy Fieri and Espinosa knuckle sandwich cigar. So this cigar kind of had to wait its turn for publicity. I mean, it's after the knuckle sandwiches and the 10-year and the chef special and the Warhead, which is always a very big cigar for us. The this CMW started to get some traction at the end of the year, and is already this year. I mean, has already made several top 25 lists. So I think we have a contender for the consensus next year on this cigar. And it's only we haven't released anything new, and we're in May already, so we're very excited. This whole series, all the cigars in this whole series have been very not only have been very creative in their marketing and Junior's marketing scheme and his ideas for how we package the cigar, but the cigar's been very well received as an ode to our parents' motherland and fatherland, I guess, or motherland. So we've been very happy with that.
Well, good. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's a great cigar, but then again, I enjoy all the Espinosas because
Me too. I mean,
Espinosas to me are like don't expect to pick up an Espinosa and get anything less than like a V8.
well,
You're gonna primarily get more punch, more fuller body, fuller flavor, and not 100% of the case, but the majority, in my opinion, are that way. And I love that about these.
we're a spicy meatball. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. I mean, we don't do very many hearty, 8-course meal kind of cigars that you
Yeah,
sat there but we do a lot of cigars that have their high spice, and just enough flavor to satisfy anybody, or anybody on the spectrum.
absolutely. So you had you had mentioned Guy Fieri and kind of some of the the Las Bravadas getting kind of a back seat while everything was coming out in a way with the chef special, the release of the Connecticut, the fact that Knuckle Sandwich is I think completely undisputed champion of celebrity driven cigars for only and it's been on the market for 2 years.
Not even.
Not
It's been
even
on,
2 years.
it's been on the market exactly 14, almost 14 months. Oh, I'm sorry, almost 16 months. It's been on the
Yeah, I
market.
was gonna say it was TGS last year that it was
Right.
released.
So
Um,
you're talking about it. Oh, I'm sorry. I asked your question right. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
oh no, you're fine. I was just gonna say, what were some of your apprehensions? Because you had to know if the cigar took off with Guy, just because of who he is, it's going to take off for the company. And what were some of your concerns or fears of going down that avenue, and
Well,
how have they been subsided?
I've not. I don't have a lot of experience. I don't have a lot of good experience with celebrities because the celebrities I ran across during my time, while I was in my other job, were guys that we took into custody and stuff. So it wasn't like there wasn't those great moments. I've never. I remember DMX on the beach for one in particular. I mean, but my point is that I never really have gotten that chance to rub shoulders with any celebrity. I mean, I have a pretty funny story. I mean, it's one of those pseudo intellectual Hector stories.
Go
Uh,
for it.
I I was working. It was 19. I want to say it was 1999. Yeah, it had to be 98 or 99. And Kevin Bacon did a movie called Wild Orchids, I think, with Nev Campbell, and it was filmed in Miami. So while he was, I guess, filming, he came to our headquarters, Miami-Dade Police Headquarters. We're the largest police department in the Southeast. I mean, very well respected police department. Still, I miss police work, and I miss the circus. I don't miss the clowns as much, but I do miss the circus. So I remember I worked afternoons in the robbery bureau, and he was over in the homicide. And somebody came over and said, "Hey, bro, Kevin Bacon's next door. You want to meet Kevin Bacon?" And I said, just to be a smartass, because that's I was much more of a smartass then than I am now. I said, no, go ahead and tell him I want to keep my 7 degrees of separation from Kevin. So, and a few minutes later, I packed up my shit and I went to lunch. And then when I came back, there's a note on my desk: 7 degrees. Pretty funny, Kevin Bacon. You know, so I mean, it's that's the level, that's the extent of the celebrity I've met prior. I we met Shaquille O'Neal once because he was becoming a reserve officer on the beach, so he came to headquarters and people flocked to him like Lazarus when he resurrected. I mean, it was just people were following him everywhere. But I don't have a lot of experience with celebrities. Eric does. Eric's met. I mean, Eric sat on the plane with Pete Rose once. No, I'm sorry. He sat on the plane with Pete Rose twice, and that would have been me. They'd have escorted me off the plane because he was my favorite ball player growing up as a kid. I would have driven that guy
Oh
crazy for
boy.
3 hours. I would have asked him every single question. He would have signed everything I had: my shirt, my underwear, my jeans. Why did you beat up Bud Harrelson? That was unfair. What'd you do that for? So, but I've never had that kind of luck. So when Guy Fieri, when the meet happens and I meet him, he's just a regular guy. I mean, he's just a regular guy with a group of guys who protect him and look out for his better interest and who are part of his support system. It's not a guy. It's not like he has lackeys or anything like that. It's a guy who has, it's a guy who has his friends with him that are guys that have been friends with him for years, and
Got a crew.
he's got a crew, and his crew looks out for him, and they're all part of his team, and it's not like Entourage where one of the guys was Turtle. They don't have anybody like that. These guys have all been with him since the beginning. They all have his better invested interest in mind. So I meet him that day. Eric says, "Hey, look, Guy Fieri's going to be here. He wants to do a cigar." So while Eric is talking to Guy and they're feeling themselves out, I'm just plying him with cigars, and he likes cigars. This is a guy who smokes cigars, and he smokes cigars after cigar after cigar after cigar. I mean, he does like cigars. So while Eric was doing his thing, I'm taking notes about what we should probably put together for him, and here we are. Listen, there's always concerns, but he's not a prima donna. He's just a guy, bro. I mean, it's weird to say it's guy just being a guy, but he's just a regular guy. He likes his tequila, he likes to smoke his cigars. He likes his restaurants. He likes his Raiders. He likes guy stuff. What guys like to do. But we have had to, the flip side of that is, it's not just like you're hiring somebody to come work for you and do events. We have to work around his schedule. It's a guy who is the face of the Food Network, who is, between his 3 TV shows and traveling and doing his events, and I'm sure he does other stuff outside of the stuff on the Food Network, and television commercials and this and that. He is a busy guy, and yet with all of that, he still managed to give us the great smoke. He did an event at a huge shop in Puerto Rico. He came to the show for a day. He went to the Big Smoke for 2 days, and he came to Palooza. Really, how much can you ask for? You really can't ask for. You can't ask for much more, especially on the first year. So Eric had a really good feeling. He has, and this is nothing we've spoken about. It's just I know it because actions reflect much more strongly than any words can say.
Oh, sure.
Eric tells me, let's order. Let's get ready. Let's get ready to make cigars. We made 100. We pre-ordered 150,000 cigars because we did not want to
sandwich
of the knuckle sandwich. We had 150,000 cigars ordered, ready to go, and Eric and Guy did not travel to a shop until like January 2nd. January 2nd, Eric and Guy go to Dade and Broward. They go to Broward and Palm Beach counties and visit 7 or 8 shops. And then the next day they went to Miami and visited another 5 or 6 shops. And that was it. That was it. And once we opened the pre-orders, it was nonstop, one after another. And this is for a cigar that nobody had tried, nobody had seen, nobody knew what the price was, but the people wanted it. And the only guys who ever got a chance to try a sample were those lucky guys who happened to be at those 6 or 7, 15 shops that they went to over the course of those 2 days. I mean, Abe, I'm sure you're very close to this. Ask Abe what kind of atmosphere surrounded him at the Great Smoke last year.
Oh yeah, he talked about it it was like people had to guard him to go to the bathroom.
All right, my son is active duty, right? Active law enforcement now. He retired. He took a weekend off. I flew him into Vegas, and he was his body man during lunch. And he said, "Pop, this guy can't take 10 steps. Can't take 10 steps. I love you. Can I take a picture? Can you sign this?" I don't know how he does it, but he does it, and it's one of those situations where Eric and him are kind of cut from the same cloth. They're both front and center guys. I'm much happier. I don't want to be the guy. I like being the guy comes to. That's always been my role.
You're the guy behind the guy.
I want to be the guy running the Manchurian Candidate. I like to be the guy. No, but I truly like to be the guy behind the guy. I don't need the. I'm happier knowing that the people who know what's going on know what my role is. It doesn't have to be publicized, and I like that. Eric is a front and center guy. He's a showman. Guy's a showman, and they really did hit it off. I mean, it was weird. You'd think these guys had known each other 10 years, the way that they hit it off. As for me, yeah. I think he knows my name now, but at first he's in his world, man. He's doing his thing. He's talking to Eric. They're planning what are they going to do in South Beach? Where we're going to eat? You're coming to my show. I'm the man of honor at the food and wine thing. I mean, he's that kind of guy. I mean, he's got that kind of aura. He's got that kind of he's got that kind of sauce or that kind of smoke. So, but never once did we think that this was not going to be a success. Just because on sheer will alone, we knew that this was not going to be a problem. Well, and everything. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, please.
And everything we've done has been with him has been not only has been top notch because this is a guy who has a brand, and it's weird to say a guy that's a guy, but anyway, Guy Fieri has a brand that he's very proud of, and he's very very careful to put his name on something that that's going to be chintzy. Everything that we've done has been top notch. The cigars that we've made have all been good. We learned this year that we are no longer a limited 500 box shop. We're not a company that can make 500 boxes of anything, because all we're going to do is piss off retailers and upset our people, because we're just at a bigger level now. But we're still cautious. I mean, listen, we knew what we know and remember very well how we started. But his 55th birthday cigar, that was crazy. That cigar sold out in 3 hours, or some crazy amount of some crazy number like that. With people upset that they wanted 10, but they can only get three. And well, why can I? Because listen, we're trying to give everybody a little bit, and so in your fight to do the right thing and make sure everybody gets a taste, people get upset. But at the end of the day, everybody realizes, the ones who have been with us since day one and the ones who continue to be our customers, know that in our heart of hearts, we're trying to do the right thing for everybody. We not everybody to get in on it.
No, absolutely. And when Guy actually was on KMA, I think it was what, 2 weekends ago or last weekend,
2 weekends ago.
with 2 weekends ago with Eric. Never let Eric talk at all, which was
I thought
hilarious
I
because
thought Eric's mic wasn't working. I really I texted him. I go, is your mic not working? What's going on there?
But one of the things that I thought was awesome is, I'm not naming any names, I'm not naming any brands, but we all know the celebrity driven brands today. There was a very famous one that was released recently by a very big brand.
Hmm.
And you don't see that celebrity or that group promoting that brand. They've cut some videos and some stuff, but on KMA, you have guys like, oh, I've got all the 55 boxes left. But I tell you what, let's throw an event and smoke it. I'm going to show up, bring 2 signed boxes, and we're going to do a giveaway and pack the house. Like, you don't see that inside the world, and that's the difference.
I will listen. I had this conversation just yesterday. Uh, Celebrity cigars are very difficult. I believe, as all things in this country, we have always suffered from regionalism, and I think that celebrity cigars suffer from that. Does we? I think we had this conversation. Does your wife smoke, Ryan?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, does your sister smoke cigars, or do you have a sister or a female cousin?
I have a sister. She likes the smell of cigars, but she
But
doesn't
she
smoke.
doesn't smoke. All right. I would, unless she's a football fan, or unless she's a football fan and familiar with the Ravens or the Hurricanes, or unless she's a baseball fan familiar with the Marlins, or the Brewers, or the Yankees, or familiar with basketball, or the player from the Jazz, she's not going to know who these guys are. I mean, unless she's a sports person, she's not going to be familiar with that. However, I am pretty sure that she's watched the Food Network,
Oh, she
and
knows.
and if she's watched the Food Network, she's seen Guy Fieri on there. And that's why I've always said, listen, it's not a slam against the other guys. There is nothing wrong with guys trying to make cigars for themselves and establish a brand. I think that's great, especially if their heart's in the right place and it's about furthering the smoking experience. Not about just slapping your name on something. But this is a guy that transcends the industry, absolutely transcends the industry. I mean, your mom might not know who Eric Espinosa is, but she knows who Guy Fieri is, and the amount of
Absolutely.
people who wanted to try his cigar and or buy the box of his cigar, and not without even trying it, was dumbfounding for us. It just left us. We were just like shocked. And the good thing for us, and comparing it, I know we're talking about the other the last cigar that from and listen, it's there, those guys are good friends of mine. The Drew Estate with the Metallica cigar blackened. I think I think we're talking kind of apples and oranges, in the sense that maybe it kind of relates to the whole thing with sports. If you're not a hard rock guy, if you don't like hard rock, you're not really a fan of them. I mean, it's not like you don't respect what they've done and their
I see where
career
you're
and all
going.
this art, but you're not a fan. If Morrissey had a cigar, I'd be all over it. But nobody gives a shit about Morrissey. I mean, we care. So it's one of those things. Also, I don't know what kind of infrastructure was. What kind of what how the infrastructure was set up for their release,
Yeah.
because their release may have been just as big as ours, probably bigger, just based on the fact of the size of that company. But I know that they right away they went through their cigars as well. Now, as for the support, I don't know. I mean, it's touring is a lot harder. When you're touring throughout the country, maybe it is a lot harder. But listen, CA put them on the cover. They just got a nice review for their Corona, so I think that's going to be a brand that's going to succeed as well. But I think they're I
It's a
think they're
good
they're
cigar.
they're two different animals. I think they're just two different things. I think Guy Fieri has more mass appeal than because listen, I mean, it's just think about it. We are a society where there is hard rock fans, but there's a lot of hip hop fans and a lot of techno fans and a lot of reggaeton fans. So that's kind of split up. But everybody eats. Everybody eats. Not everybody listens to Tanner Sandman. So it's that's the I think that's the difference. And listen, I wish them all the success in the world. Eric worked for that company for many years. He's friends with them, and like I said, anything that advances the cigar smoking culture is a positive. And we
No,
embrace that.
absolutely. And I agree. And Kevin, brings up a good point. Ray Lewis, Gary Sheffield, you don't really see them out promoting the Rocky Patel cigar. But and that's, I personally feel that's the huge difference is Guy just has a way of just commanding a room when he walks in. And
And
everybody's magnetically drawn to him. And I also think you guys have Eric's whole thing is as a amateur chef or professional chef, whatever he wants to call himself. His whole thing is good ingredients create good food.
sure,
And
absolutely.
Guy being a chef, I think a lot of us were like, wonder what a chef's palate turns out a cigar like.
Well, you guys know, he tried all of these cigars before they were put out, and he greenlit all of them, which is fantastic. And what Guy does, which I think is very beneficial to the company, is Guy embraces it's not about just knuckle sandwich. If you listen to anything he's done, anything he's said, he's very hot right now. Did KMA 2 weeks ago. He was in this month's issue of Cigar Snob on the cover of Tobacco Business. He always it's Espinosa cigars and knuckle sandwich are hand in hand. They both go hand in hand. When he talks about knuckle sandwich, he talks about Espinosa. When he talks about himself in the industry, he also talks about Eric. They work together. These are symbiotic. They are two in the same, and I think that's good for the brand. That's good for our brand, and it's good for his brand.
No, absolutely. And Emma asks an interesting question. Do you think some of these anti-tobacco laws that are going through might influence other celebrities to stay away from getting into this?
Listen, if you're a cigar smoker, you're not going to be swayed by anti-tobacco laws or people who are part of the anti-tobacco lobby. The tobacco is broken up really into two parts. There's no gray area when it comes to tobacco. You either are anti-smoking, anti-tobacco, or you smoke and you like tobacco. The thing is that the people who smoke, we know the difference between what vape is, what cigarettes are, what pipe tobacco is, what long fill tobacco is. The anti-smoking lobby doesn't give a shit. They
Yeah.
compare all they lump it all together and it's all bad. Sadly, those are the ones who just seem to be in charge of, uh, those are the ones who put in charge of dictating policy and or trying to dictate policy. It would be great if the FDA, if the guy who was in charge of the FDA liked the cognac and a big Churchill at the end of the day, but that's never going to happen. They're never going to do that.
No, absolutely. And that is, you make a good point. It's like, again, without getting political in any way, shape, or form, it's like the anti-gun lobby. They talk about guns and you're like, what the heck are you even talking about?
Oh, I had a thing yesterday. Listen, I had a thing yesterday.
Well, I'll let
I
you
am, I am, I've got. Listen, I am, I have guns. I have plenty of guns. I love my guns. I have plenty of guns, uh, and I like guns. All right, and there you will not meet a guy more for gun control than I am. I am. I think getting a license to carry a weapon should be the hardest thing you should be able to get in this country. It should be thoroughly vetted to make sure that we're not putting guns in the hands of people who are dangerous or who are unstable. I don't say criminals because at the end of the day, based on my background, a criminal wants to get a gun, he's going to get a gun. Whether he's going to buy it on the street, whether he's going to buy a stolen one or steal one from somebody's house, he's going to get weapons. All right, that's not the guy. For some reason, the anti-gun lobby has an issue with that. They can't put their minds around that. But I'll go a step further. What bothers me the most about him is I had a conversation with somebody about, well, nobody needs an AR-15. I said, well, okay, I can see your point, but can you tell me the difference between a Mini 14 and an AR-15? And then you show them the picture. Well, that gun is not nearly. Are you going to say scary? Were you going to tell me that it's not nearly as scary because it looks like your grandpa's hunting rifle? Did you know that they're technically the same goddamn weapon? But it's all aesthetics for a lot of these people. It's ooh, scary. It's a scary AR-15. Listen, I believe that because of the way society is unfortunately slanted right now, and people are just all these shootings. You have to be, I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. My son's a policeman. I have not two little girls, but I have two young 22-year-old women. They're women, but they're girls. They're my daughters. I worry about them every day, and I live in a pretty dangerous city. I believe that you have to protect yourself from those that have no issue harming you.
Yeah.
And listen, I mean, I'm not in favor of a lot of the things that they're doing. I mean, the state of Florida is looking to go to, not open constitutional carry. That worries me. I mean, we have here in Miami, we give driver's license to people who don't know how to drive. The last thing I want is them having, carrying a gun because they're worried and don't have the proper training. Listen, I've been trained. I know how to shoot. I learned how to shoot. I learned how to shoot from the best. I learned how to shoot in the Army. They taught you how to shoot because they like guys who don't know how to shoot. A lot of guys. Well, I remember going to basic training, and my basic training unit was full of good old boys from West Virginia and Kentucky that would piss the drill sergeant off to no ends because these guys been shooting right. They've been shooting shotguns since they were 6, 7 years old, and then they go to basic training and they're using Kentucky windage, and they're trying to compensate, and they're not learning how to mark in and dial in their sights. And you're not on your daddy's farm. You're redneck. You'd hear them yelling at each other, and I didn't know how to shoot at all. So I mean, I learned the right way, and I think it should be hard. It shouldn't be easy. You just shouldn't be able to walk in and buy a gun, but you should still have the right to. And that's my opinion. And when I hear people give me their opinion who don't have it's their opinion. They're entitled to it, but they don't have any basis for it. They're scared. Listen, I get it. Guns are scary, but guns are a necessary evil.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Guns can be scary. I find that most people that are afraid of guns have no knowledge of guns. It's the old adage: we fear most what we know the least about.
Absolutely. I think Bruce Stark just said when guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. That's Bruce Stark just said there is when guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. That's a very true statement.
So yeah, and without going too further into this, it is very current, it's very topical. I am much more in favor of a state doing that than I am the federal government. The federal government, in my opinion, in many legal things that I've read and studied, because I'm a Second Amendment nut, I would have less of an issue of, say, California outlawing a subsect of firearms than the federal government. But that's kind of the beauty of the 10th Amendment, is states should have that right to say we don't want to have that gun sold in our state.
It's just if you look at some of the laws that some of the states have passed, it's okay to have this, but you can only have a 5-round magazine. What is that about? The magazine, the limitations on magazine sizes. And look, when I finally retire for good and I move, and I have to make sure that wherever I move, that I'm not bringing in anything that's not legal in that state.
Sure.
I mean, I probably got 30, 40 guns in And you know,
Amen.
why do you need so many? Well, because I wanted them.
Yeah.
I worked hard during my career, and I have them, and I always wanted to have them. Did I need an AK-47? No, but did I want one? Sure. And did I did I need a did I need an AR-10? No, but I got it and I wanted it. Do I have to have 345? Do I have to have 345s? No, but I have them, and I wanted them
Absolutely.
because because that's what I want, and I carry my gun and I don't flash my gun around. I always worry when I see guys. New gun owners always worry me the most. New gun owners always
Oh
worry me the most.
yes.
They
Yes.
want to. They just. I like the guys that you can never tell they're carrying.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I like.
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah,
You know.
I carry every day. Anytime I'm out of the house, especially if I'm with my wife and daughter, I always have one on me. Sometimes two. And you know, you're right. It's the new gun owners that are like, oh, you want to look at it? Do you want to see it? Or you know,
No, I don't. I don't want to see it. I
I
have
know what it looks like.
you know, why do you carry that? Well, because I want to carry this. This is the one I like. I
Mhm.
like this 28 by 50 by 5.7. I like this. This is
Oh yeah.
mine. Yeah. So listen, I don't I don't poo poo those who don't like guns, but there seems to be I think people who don't like weapons seem to come down a lot harder on us than the guys who like weapons coming down on those who don't like weapons. You don't like weapons, that's fine. I mean, shit. Listen, there is a whole bunch of people in this industry, fans of cigars, who are knife people. They love knives. They love their knives. They're knife guys, and they have 77 knives. And I'm not a knife guy. I'm not a knife guy, but fine. You like knives? Good for you. I mean, who am I to tell you what you can spend your money on? I mean, listen, that's not for me. I'm not a big shotgun guy. A lot of guys love shotguns. There are guys who do what do you call that the old style the which you have to load. What do you call the one where you have the loads and stuff like that? That's
Oh, musket.
oh, musket. There are guys who love that. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, it's to each their own. It's definitely interesting to kind of see where all this is going to kind of plan out. But to your point, when people are like, why do you have so many cigars? You look over in my humidor. Now, I don't have nearly as the amount that either you or most of the people that are like you that work for manufacturers have. But I mean, I've got about 700-800 cigars.
You got more than I do at
And
home. I don't have that many cigars at home. I may
yeah,
have.
but you could go to a warehouse.
Well, that's that's true. I may have 100 cigars at home, and those are all and most of them are Espinosa, but I do have cigars that people give me. But and in my office, I have I have the goodie cabinet. I probably have 1,000 cigars in there, and it's but yeah, listen, if the guy has, my issue with guys who have a lot of cigars is the guy will tell me, oh, I've been keeping this cigar for 9 years. What the hell are you waiting for to
Why?
smoke that?
Yeah,
Smoke that thing. Cigars are meant to be
yeah.
smoked.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely. Yeah, oh
I,
yeah.
I smoked this cigar. It's lost a little bit. Well, we haven't made that in 7 years, so obviously that cigar you're going to lose a little bit of oomph on that cigar. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah. Hey, I was talking with Travis Pappenheim. I'm sure you know who he is of Altadis, and he gave me some really really nice cigars. And I was talking to him about a year after, and he goes, "So what'd you think of those?" And I'm like, "Oh, I haven't smoked it. I haven't found the right spot." He goes, grab it out of your humidor right now while I'm on the phone with you and light it up. He goes, if you die tomorrow, you will never know what it tastes like.
Yeah, I
Stop
mean, listen,
making cigars.
it's not like we're buying Cubans and we have to automatically put them away for 2 years. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's what a scam those guys got, huh? I mean, could you imagine? Could you imagine if us and our other brethren that are that are competitors, our other manufacturers, we're at the show and retailers come by. So what do you have new? Well, we have this new broadleaf, and we're doing this new Habano, and this is our brand new Connecticut. But I need you to buy these and store them for 2 years. Only Cubans can get away with that shit. You know, that's always kind of bothered me. But that's I guess that's the price you pay when you're allegedly the world's greatest.
Now, you had said something to me um, pre-show that I thought was interesting. And I don't know if a lot of people know, unless they know you, that you don't actually buy boxes. You prefer to buy the single sticks only.
I think it has.
Why?
I do. I have several boxes of cigars. Listen, I outside of my own our own brand, there are a couple of brands that I'm very big fans of. I may have two or three boxes that I bought over the years. However, uh, I do a thing. I like to, since my part of my thing is coming up with blends and getting ideas for new blends. I like to smoke new stuff, and I like to smoke what's new and what's coming out and what just came out. So, listen, just financially, I can't. Every time a new something comes out every week. Well, I mean, especially if you're my friend Justin at General, something comes out every week.
Justin Andrews.
But yeah, but I'm a retiree on a pension. I can't afford to be buying a box of cigars every week. But the new HVC came out, I buy two or three of them. The new Blackworks comes out, I buy two or three of them. When something when Saka's new cigar comes out, I grab a couple. When Morelos comes out, I grab a couple. I don't buy 20 of them. I don't buy 15 of them. I buy a couple, and then if I like it, if it becomes something that I really dig, it'll be in the rotation. I mean, but if I'll smoke, I'll smoke maybe two cigars at the office. And when I mean two cigars, I may like three or four, but I'll smoke half an inch of this one, and they're all samples. Yeah. I'm constantly smoking samples. And then when I go to my shop, my home shop, I'll have two cigars. One of them will be something that's in the rotation that I like from somebody else, and then something I'll ask Alan, "Hey, what's new? Hey, this is the new CLE came in, or the new thing came in." And I'll light it and smoke it and say, "Yeah, I like this." I'll give you an example. When a box that I should have bought that I didn't buy was the 10-year anniversary Undercrown. I thought that was a fantastic cigar. So I one and two'd myself through probably 30 or 40 of those last year or year before last when they came out. It was a great cigar. Just, and you have a little regret. I should have bought a box of those. But what happens, I think, is when you have boxes, especially the way I smoke and the way I tend to set up my day for smoking, that cigar might sit a little longer than I want it to sit. And then I'll be in the same situation where I've got a cigar that's 2 or 3 years old. And it's not going to be it's not the same cigar when I smoke it at 2 or 3 years that it was when I first saw it and smoked it and liked it. That's just me.
You brought up rotation. This is a question that I've never asked a guest on the show. How do you create your rotation of cigars? What does that look like? Are you somebody that has like a few or constantly brings in and brings out? Like what is your rotation?
All right. For me, I mean, it's not like handling a pitching staff. It's not that way. It's not that way at all. For me, it's pretty much feel. How am I feeling? Like, am I going to be at the shop? Am I going to be at the shop for 3 hours? Are we playing dominoes? Are we going to be there for 3 hours or 4 hours? And I'll say, well, I'm probably going to need. It's not something too strong. Maybe maybe 2 or 3 medium cigars to hold me through the day. Or am I just going to be at the shop for an hour where I can go full board here and get a double Hero, or that depends on the situation. It depends on the situation, what I'm feeling, how am I feeling. Did I have a big meal? Am I going to eat later? Do I have an event later that night? When I travel, I smoke. You have to smoke almost in every shop, so that's a lot of cigars, man. Smoking one here, smoking one there, and so it depends kind of how I'm feeling. Like today, I only had one cigar at the warehouse today. I had an old Cubao at the warehouse, and then I didn't smoke the rest of the day. Then I came here knowing that I would be on with you, so I grabbed the CMW, who's it's a little bit ballsy. It's a little bit of a powerhouse, and this one will do it for me. But if I was going to leave here and go do something else, I probably would have gotten a 10-year, which is a little milder, a little less strength, a little more spice, a little less strength, and it would have held me over until I go wherever and smoke something else.
So your rotation is more based on what you're doing than
and how I'm feeling. I mean, and my time is a big deal. If I don't have, I think it's a crime if you only have half an hour or 45 minutes and then you got to do something. It's a crime to light up a Churchill. You light up a Robusta. You smoke, or you smoke the cigar. I've always picked cigars based on what my time frame is or what my allotment of time is, because I want to enjoy it to the max.
Is there a cigar you smoke every day that's not an Espinosa?
No. There's nothing I don't. There's no There is no cigar that I have every day.
What is a Espinosa that you have the most?
Oh, I have smoked the hell out of the 10-year anniversary. I have.
What's a great cigar?
I am so happy with that cigar. It is so,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an and it's not, and it's a Habano, which is my least favorite
I
of
was just
all the
saying, yeah.
wrappers. Yeah, I just love the way that cigar is. I mean, that cigar to me is just fantastic. There was a time there that I smoked a green probably every day. I like 601 green. I would smoke a 601 green every day.
That's the
But
Oscuro.
right, but since
Yeah.
I'm constantly trying other things, I try to smoke light so I can, I can enjoy get everything I need to get from the cigar that is up next in the rotation.
So I want to kind of level back, and you had brought up that you had a funny story about DMX on the beach.
Well, no, it was the story was no, it wasn't a funny story about DMX, but we were talking about when we were talking about what we were going to talk about today. I said, listen, I don't really have a lot of celebrity, a lot of run-ins with celebrities. So, I mean, the best one I've had was not meeting him, which was the Kevin Bacon story. But DMX was a funny story. It was South Beach during Urban Beach Weekend, which is it's a rap music, hip hop music seminar conference they do on the beach during Memorial Day. And it's as part of in the unit I was in at the time, we did a thing called the Multi Agency Gang Task Force, where we would support Miami Beach with police services, to keep crowd control down. And while we were there, you look around and while we worked the gang angle, crime is crime. These guys, anybody has to go to jail goes to jail. But one of the funny incidences was that a trooper had pulled over DMX and his posse. There was like 8, 4, 5, 6 guys in a shadow in a, what do you call it, the is it a Bentley?
Yes.
All right, it's 6 guys in a Bentley, and not a single one of them had a driver's license. I mean, none of them had a driver's license. But so the trooper loads them all. I mean, one of them had a warrant. Well, I think all of them had weed on them. So this is 15, 16 years ago. So the trooper loads everybody and takes them. We meet up with him at the prisoner van, and then they bring DMX into the beach, and DMX they had arrested. The beach had put so many people in custody that particular night that their jail inside of their headquarters had overflowed. They just didn't have enough, so they used an ancillary cell. They used these. They look like dog kennels in the garage where they just had guys in there, and then of course guys being cops being the way cops are. DMX was sitting there, and the guy looked, hey man, you look like DMX. That's right, that's me. He talked like DMX, and he goes. So then the guys were like, where my dogs at? And they started barking at him and shit. And it was you couldn't do that now, obviously. I mean, now you did that now, and somebody would videotape it. But it was pretty funny. In that instance, it was pretty damn funny. So,
I want to kind of because I want to. We talked a little bit about pre-show around some of some myths or what that people say about cigars that really isn't necessarily true, or maybe sometimes it is, but in rare occasions. What are being in this industry for 20 years? No, 12 years 12, now. Yeah. But being a smoker for over 20 years.
Yeah, 30.
30 years.
Almost 40 years, yeah.
What are some of your biggest
pet peeves?
Oh my God, shut up. Like that's not a thing moment.
There are some things that drive me crazy. The one thing that drives me crazy is the guy who purposely lights his cigar wrong. He lights his cigar wrong and says, "Oh, it's going to catch up. It's going to catch up." Why would you do that? Unless the cigar was given to you, you're paying for the cigar. I've said this before. I think that probably 75% of the problems that people have with cigars are operator error. I've seen it. I've seen a guy cut a cigar way down past the shoulder, and then he's sitting there going, "Man, it's unraveling on me." Well, look how fucking far you cut it. Use the rabbi. I always use the rabbi's rule: a little off the top, just a little off the top, just off the tip.
Little off the tip.
The guy who's smoking and won't shut the fuck up. And listen, there are guys who talk a lot. I get it. I talk a lot, but I'm puffing while I'm talking. A lot of guys will talk and go, "Man, this cigar keeps turning off on me." No, you don't shut the fuck up. If you shut up, if you had a big glass to shut the fuck up every couple of minutes and let your cigar, because then he complains. I've heard it. I mean, and not just with ours, any cigar. I've heard him at shops, even at my shop. Man, this cigar keeps turning off. You don't shut up. And then he goes, "Oh, it's tasting weird." Well, you look at the end of that. Look at the end of that cigar. It looks like a paintbrush because you're sucking on it, and then you're trying to light it. And you're sucking on it, and you're trying to light it. Cut the end of that thing off. Let the cigar. The guys who smoke, the guys who smoke cigars like they're chimneys. The guys who look like the little engine that could. You know, the cigar. Look, it's a man-made product. The roller may have had the buncher may have had a bad day. There may be a little bit of a tunnel in there. You can fix some of these things if you catch them early enough. Some of them. I'm not saying all of them. Some of these times you can fix some of these errors. It's canoed on you, starting to canoe on you. Let's put the cigar down. Give it a minute. Cut around it. Light the other side. There are times that a cigar is fucked. There is. But a lot of times I've walked and gone, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing there? What are you doing there? I've seen, especially in the winter, we do get 7 or 8 cold days here. So, you'll see he'll get a cigar and it's got a very thin Connecticut or very thin Habano and it's starting to splice open. And the guy's like, I go, are you going to light that? He goes, yeah. I go, don't light that. He goes, why? I go, why don't you get your cutter, go about an inch up, go around in a circle, cut that splice part of the wrapper, smoke it, and then you'll get the nice even wrapper. Oh no! I like to see how that works. All you're going to do is create a huge crevasse. It's got a huge crevice. It's just going to go work right down the middle of that cigar. The guys who drop the cigar, they drop it, then they're like, "Oh man, it cracked on me." No, you dropped it.
It's like, oh, this glass broke. Well, because you dropped it.
The guys who bite down on the end of the cigar and then everything just goes to hell there. I've had a guy pull out, oh, my cigar had a stem. Every cigar has stems in it. I mean, I tell them quite. Every cigar has a stem in it. I'm just letting you know. Yeah, but look at the size of root. No, bro, that's just. What are you doing? I don't listen. I know there are a lot of people who use those the perfect tool that they go through it. Fine. If you are the guy who's had a lot of bad experiences with that, maybe you live in the Northeast or where it's super cold 6 months out of the year, and or you live in the South where it's super humid and your cigar over humidifies and you're trying to help out. I get it. And then the ones who have the little roach clip, I think maybe the bias has a lot to do with the fact that, I work when I want a cigar, I turn around and grab one out of my cabinet. Maybe a lot of people don't have that option. A lot of people don't have that luxury. But, I've seen some things that just makes you shake your head. And the worst part is, you really can't tell. It's hard to tell a grown man or a woman how to smoke their cigar. It's like telling them what team to cheer for, what God to pray for, what color hair to like. You can't. It's just hard. I mean, listen, people smoking is a very personal thing. I've noticed in my years and my travels, smoking is a very personal thing. People like what they like. They smoke what they like. One of the conversations that we have all the time when people say, I don't know how that cigar is crap, or this cigar is crap. Listen, they sold 10 million cigars last year. Obviously, their cigars are not crap. But, somebody likes, when somebody likes a cigar, forget it. That's what they like. Just let them smoke what they like. You can't criticize what the guy chooses. I mean, maybe we criticize among ourselves, but you can't criticize a customer for what he's smoking. That's what he likes. There are guys who like bundle cigars. You know what? Mm-hmm. More power to them. Bundle cigars are a big sales bracket in the market. So and you still have old timers who come into shops who want a $3 cigar. Where the hell are you going to find a $3 cigar? You're not going to find a $3 cigar anywhere.
Well, Espinosa's got actually a really good bundle.
We do. We have the E bundle, which is the E bundle, but. Listen, there are guys who want, there are guys who, especially in Miami, where you still have a lot of the old timers who used to pay 75 cents for a cigar, and they can't even, they can't fathom paying $10 for a cigar, more or less 50, as some cigars have now gotten into that stratosphere there. Oh, yeah. I sit, I watch him smoke. If the guy's smoking something I don't like, or I don't personally like it, it's not my job to tell him, hey, you're smoking. It's not good. It's not good etiquette. It's not good form. Because the
No.
last thing you want is you leave there and then a week later the guy goes, that guy from Espinosa's here. He told me that cigar that I smoked is crap. I would never do that. Never do that.
No.
Listen, as a matter of fact, I learned something from Eric that and it's something that I picked up from him right away. When we're doing an event, or even at the even at the PCA, it embarrasses him to see a guy who lit a cigar, smoked an inch of it, and then put it away and just threw it out. You'll see Eric go over there and he'll take the band off it, even if it's not ours. It could be anybody's. He'll just take the band off because it's bad form to do that, and you see a lot of that.
Well, speaking of bad form, I've also been told that it's better etiquette to let the cigar die with dignity versus stamp it out.
Never stamp out your cigar. It stinks. It's first of all, it stinks up the place, and I think and I just think there's a bad connotation to it. Listen, if you're smoking a cigar that somebody gave you that you don't like, the best thing to do is just smoke it till and then let it sit. And then when the guy comes around every 30 minutes to clean the ashtrays, you kind of flick it into the thing. It disappears, and hey, where's that cigar I gave you? Oh, bro, the guy took it from the guy took it. You know, Listen, there are ways to not hurt people's feelings, and these are your friends. These are the guys who you work with. You don't want to be that guy.
I've definitely had cigars that have not been my favorite that people have given me, and I've smoked them, and I've actually enjoyed them more than I have because of the company I was with. And I do think company plays into a cigar. If you have that one guy that always wants to talk about everything controversial, or that guy that's just a constant know-it-all, atmosphere could ruin a good cigar.
I'll give you an example. All smokers have a high level of noology. They're all noologists. So I was sitting there's a shop called there's a big shop here down south. They have a big online presence, but they Neptune. So I gone into Neptune because I was down south, and I wanted to buy a couple of cigars that weren't available at my regular shop, and I wanted Alan to smoke them. I wanted Alan to try them so Alan could bring them in. So I bought 5 or 6 cigars, and I had like an hour, so I sat in their very small little smoking area. So an older guy, and I'm 56, and this is probably 2 years ago. I was in my early 50s, and this guy probably about 60 walked in, and he looks at me and he goes, "Are those yours?" I said, "Yeah." I thought he was going to ask me for a cigar. He goes, "Can I look?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So he's looking at him. He goes, "Next time you come in, get with me so I can walk you around the humidor and turn you on to some new things."
My gosh.
So I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." I go, "Well, I've got some time. I'm curious now. Now I'm curious." He has no idea. He has no idea who I am, which is good. He has no idea who I am. So I go, "Give me an example." So he says, "Yeah, look over here." He walks over and he takes me to the Espinosa section, and he goes, "You see that cigar right there? That was the Laranja Reserve." He goes, "That cigar, fantastic. You see that one right here? Let's see how I go. That cigar, fantastic." I said, "Yeah, yeah." And he goes, "Another one. This is cigar, fantastic." He's showing me 3 or 4 of the cigars that we make. I go, "So they're good, huh?" He goes, "Those are very good." And like always, I always laugh because everybody is a close personal friend of Eric's. He goes, "Oh, the guy who owns this, the brand owner, close personal friend of mine." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah." So I grabbed my phone. I said, "What's his name?" And he goes, "Oh, his name's Eric Espinosa." So I'm looking through the phone, and then I come upon a picture of me and him, and I go, "Is it that guy?" He goes, "Yeah, that's him." "Who's that guy next to him?" I go, "That's me." He goes, "Oh, you know him?" I go, "Yeah, I work for Espinosa. That's I did." So the guy didn't know where to hide. I mean, he was like, and listen, I don't get me wrong. It's nice. It's a nice idea, but you can't do that. You don't know who the hell you're talking to. You're gonna educate somebody. You don't know who the hell you're talking to. The guy knows. Somebody always knows more. Somebody always smarter. Somebody always funnier. But the guy he left. He didn't even. I thought he was gonna hang out and smoke. He's like, "Fuck that! I gotta get out of here." I embarrassed him. I think he got so embarrassed that he just left. That's how it is, man.
So are you becoming more known now as you traveling to where the incognito-ness kind of goes away?
I am still very incognito. I still am. Listen, especially locally, because I don't really do any events locally, and Miami is its own world onto itself. I mean, Miami is its own world. Uh, but I travel to the Northwest every year. I'm going this year again for the fourth time, so I've got a little bit of a, I don't want to say following, but people are knowing me at the shops that we go there. I've traveled to Ohio 2 or 3 times now, and when I travel places, I'm not the same kind of event. When I go to an event, it's not the same as say when Jack or Eric go to an event. Look, Eric goes to an event, and it's usually a much bigger event, maybe even a multi-vendor, where he's on the mic and he's talking and he's putting on a show and he's telling stories and he's hitting you with trivia or a magic trick or just something to keep you just entertained for the 3 hours you're there, and he's really good at it. Jack has more of a sits. Jack has that humor presence. He sits down and he tells industry stories and when he worked here and when he worked there and stories about that shop. I'm not that guy in the sense I don't have all those stories, and I do have some good stories, but I'm not that great of a storyteller. I really do better at shops where it's nerd shops, where the guys want to talk. They want to do a tasting, or they want to talk about this and how did we get to this flavor and comparing this to that and the pairing. I'm much better in that scenario. If there's a round table or something where you're talking about the nuts and bolts of the cigar, that's pretty much my strong point. But we're all very, we all, like I said, all five of us are very, we're all gifted in what we do, and we've been very successful promoting the brand with five, the five fingers of death. It's we're out there promoting the brand. It's a good thing to have.
Well, let's get a little geeky here and let's talk about what we're supposed to expect from you guys here at PCA this year. And then I actually have another question. And let's go through this one first. What is the big difference between the 601 Habano and the Espinosa Habano?
Oh, they're completely different cigars. Completely different cigars. The 601, I think, is a more traditional, and I don't like to use the word Cubanesque because there's no Cuban tobacco in it, but it's more of it's more of a traditional Habano smoke. It's medium bodied. I don't find a lot of spice in it. It's a predicate date cigar, so a lot of the guys who smoke 601 Red are guys who were fans of Eric's when Eric was with EO, before he started Espinal, when he had his partner Eddie Ortega, and they were doing the TA Golden Bat. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, Lou. Uh, when he was, those cigars were made by another manufacturer, and it has a different feel to it. Where the Espinosa Habano is a more kicked up, a little more amped up, a little same kind of body, but just more of a spice note, which is what Eric really likes. Eric doesn't like a super strong cigar; he likes a spicy cigar, and
Yes.
that's the difference between the Espinosa Habano and the 601 Red.
So let's talk a little bit about the TAA that Lou was getting at here, the Golden Bat, and then kind of walk us through what we're looking at for Espinosa after PCA going into the fall.
Well, I have to do it backwards. The Golden Bat was going to be our PCA release for this year. All right, uh, we wanted to join the DA, not because not for any other reason, but the fact that I think that we've reached that level as a company that we are trying to open every single door we can, and opening and having access to those TA accounts helps us in the long run. So we went through the process. We were accepted, and we did not want to, especially in our first year. We wanted to make sure that when we hit the door, we wanted to hit the line running. And what better thing to do than to use a cigar that we already knew was good, that we loved, that we were going to make a core line. So we just we rolled that out as the TA. Listen, the TA came and went, and I believe, I'm very sure of this, we were the first and only cigar ready to go at the TA.
Really?
I mean, that's how we were ready. We had our cigars in the while Eric and Jack and Richie and Junior were at the TAA. I was in Nicaragua, but we had our cigars ready to roll. We had our cigars ready to ship, which is a huge advantage. Not only is it a huge advantage because you're ahead of the game, but it also sets good precedent that look, Espinosa came ready to play, and I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that Knuckle Sandwich, launching Knuckle Sandwich for us, gave us a good example, gave us a chance as a company to do everything the right way this second time around. Not that we've done things wrong because we've been very successful, but we were young. I mean, listen, the only guy who had any industry knowledge when we started Espinosa was Senior. I
Yeah.
worked at a retail shop. His son worked at a retail shop, and it was just the three of us. And we are in our effort to better things. We at times we would stumble over and trip over ourselves because we were trying so hard to do the right thing and to make to make a good impression, and we made mistakes. We might have released something we should have waited on, or we should have done this and doing that. But now, since the knuckle sandwich, we're doing things a lot more. We're giving it a lot more thought, and we're realizing that we have to think long term, and we can do Golden Bat now, and then when TA comes around next October, we'll do a new cigar for TAA, and then maybe we can launch Golden Bat as a core line. But it was important that, especially in our first year, that the companies who took a chance on the retailers that took a chance on us at TAA had the cigar available right away to sell it. And we've gotten such incredible feedback on that cigar. And you talk to the other guys in the cigar media, they'll tell you that cigar is everywhere. Everywhere you look, somebody is posting a photo of that cigar. Somebody's reviewed. They haven't reviewed it yet, but somebody's posting that cigar. They're talking about the cigar, and the guys who are La Zona people, the guys who are so loyal to our brand, they go out of their way to find it wherever they can. So that's a good mark. That looks really good for us as a company.
No, it does. I haven't had the ability to try one yet, but we have my local lounge is a TAA, and so I plan on picking one up. Before we get into more of the PCA stuff, Kevin asks a couple of good questions here. Why are some habanos sour while others aren't? And can any tobacco be a habano, or is it like a process like Candela?
All right, so I think a lot of this has to do with some of the wording that you think about when people talk about habano seed. All right, to me, I only use the term habano when I'm talking about a cigar that's wrapped in a habano wrap. That to me is a habano. All right, there's a lot of almost all filler is Cuban seed filler as well, but there's plenty of broadleaf filler. There's plenty of there you can use filler from you can use Arapiraca as filler. You can use broadleaf as filler. Mexican as filler. But when I think habano, I only think wrapper. I'm not thinking about the filler. As for why they're sour, that might be more of a blend issue. Listen, I make a candela for the company that's called Wasabi,
Wasabi. It's
and it
amazing.
is it is not sour at all,
It's
and
amazing.
and it's a cigar that cigar was really a pain in the ass to blend because I smoked a lot of bad candela, and then luckily I smoked a couple of good ones, and I tried to be right in that wheelhouse where those other three really good candelas were that I liked. But I didn't. I have yet to try a sour cigar. I'm thinking. I don't think I've ever had a cigar that's sour to me. So maybe Kevin, that maybe you drank something that day or had something or ate something, but I don't. I've never tasted sourness. I've tasted not good. I mean, I've tasted plenty of habanos who are not good, and I'm not a habano connoisseur in the sense that there are guys who just love habano and it's so traditional. Yeah, okay, I like a good habano, I smoke our Habano. I like HVC's Habano. I like Dion's Habano. There are a lot of Habanos that I like, but I tend to go. I like Mexican wrapper, broadleaf, Pennsylvania broadleaf, Cameroon, Sumatra. I'm bigger fans of cigars that are rolled, that are wrapped in those wrappers. I hope I answered his question right.
No, yeah, he says, got it. Here are the comments. So let's jump back into PCA since we're getting close to it. I know I don't do a lot of product, but product that's not released is a little bit different. So
All right, so PCA for this year, we are doing. We have some line extensions. We're doing some line extensions for Oscuro 601 Blue, which is which is the OG of our cigars right now. It's a cigar that people love from the first iteration of Eric's company, and we're going to do a couple of line extensions in Knuckle Sandwich Habano and Maduro, and then we are going to do the 3 LEs that we do every year. The chef special, the new chef special for this year. Last year was Habano. This year's Sumatra. The new Warhead in a Perfecto size, 6x56. Really nice Perfecto size. Getting ready for next year's 10th anniversary, which we're really going to try to do something to blow everybody's socks off next year with the 10-year.
Perfecto's a different size for you guys.
We don't do a lot of Perfectos. We do La Punta and a Perfecto, and then we had a Figurado. It was more of a Figurado that we did for Warhead 6, that little 5x58 in Figurado. Yeah,
but you guys really don't do shaped tips much.
No, Bunker Buster. Bunker Buster was also a, what do you call it, a Perfecto. We don't do a lot of them. We don't do a lot of them. And I'll tell you the reason I think we don't do them is that none of us use cutters. I don't ever have a cutter. Jack has a cutter, but I mean, outside of that, I never have a cutter. Senior never have a cutter. Junior never has a cutter. We have perfected that perfect bite, with the incisor, boom, and we've managed that. And then the third release that we'll have is the 5th iteration of the 6 provinces. So we'll be doing the 5th one. That one is going to be spectacular. I don't want to really reveal anything about that. Just to tell you that it is going to be the cigar is spectacular. Every year we've gone strong, milder, and this year, we did strong, we did medium, we did mild, then we went back to strong last year, and then this year it's more of a medium bodied, but the flavor on the cigar is just, and it's a Habano, and it's fantastic. It's a fantastic cigar. I was surprised because it's not really in my wheelhouse, but it's very reminiscent of the Espinosa 10 in the flavor profile. So we're very excited about that. And then we've always, we've got at the end, we're always looking to shake the tree a little bit. We might come out with something, LE. We did a couple of LEs a month ago. Again, learning from our, learning that 500 of anything is not enough for our company anymore. We did something called 601 yellow and 601 orange, and those flew. Those absolutely flew. Those cigars flew out the door, and we probably got a couple of things lined up for this year as well.
It sounds like you guys got a lot of things lined up for this year. Espinosa is going to be a PCA in full bloom. It sounds like.
Listen, look. There's 2 questions that are asked when you walk into any cigar shop. The first question is, how you doing? When you walk into a shop, everybody asks you, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? That's the first question you get. The second question is, what's new? Those are the 2 questions you hear at a cigar shop. And I'm not saying you have to release something new every week or every month, but you have to have something I'd say once a quarter. You got to have something every couple of months. You got to have something that shakes the tree, because it invigorates. In my opinion, I think it invigorates the brand. That's how we've been doing it the last few years.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the Diet Sarsaparilla.
Oh, okay.
Or the TGS tailgate cigar.
The tailgate cigar. Okay.
I don't know which one he's talking about. Lou, I don't know which one you're talking about, but the Sarsaparilla I thought, the Diet Sarsaparilla, I actually liked a little bit better than the sarsaparilla itself. I don't know
Oh,
why it just hit perfectly.
also, I forgot to mention that we released another core line on Knuckle Sandwich. We did a Connecticut. So we did
Yes,
and the Connecticut. Oh my God!
I
I
can't
mean,
find
that
it.
is you can't find that Connecticut.
It's sold out a lot of the places I know.
I know smoker friendlies in Colorado, right?
Yes, but I don't know if the one next to me has that. I will
I know
check.
Smoker Friendly has it, and I'll tell you what, that that is my favorite Connecticut. I'm not a Connecticut smoker. Jack's a big Connecticut smoker, but Eric and I are not, and Junior, we're not big Connecticut smokers. I don't think Richie is as well, but that Connecticut is special, and it's funny because, and I don't want this to be the sale tag for it, but it is the Connecticut that kind of smokes like a Habano. It has,
It does.
it does have that feeling,
Hmm?
and it's Connecticut. You can taste that it's Connecticut, but man, does it really smokes really well. And that box, we made it in a box press short Churchill, which is fantastic. Really, 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 really happy with that cigar. Really super happy with that cigar. So listen, I mean, we're loading up his portfolio. We're squaring our portfolio away. We are, we are trying to we're moving forward, and we want to have a full frontal attack, and we want to be able to offer our portfolio. We want to be able to offer from medium to full. And there's a couple things that I'm working on that we just haven't. I just haven't gotten the right moment, but I've been working on a very heavy cigar, uh, and it's something that I think we've been lacking in our portfolio. That real heavy spice kind of, a spicy, strong, big cigar. And I think
Like
I've
ultra
got
full.
an ultra, full bodied cigar. Cadillac, the big Cadillac Brougham, one of those big ass Cadillacs. Something that you might have one a day. I say if you have one, that's your cigar for the day. So I'm really happy where we're at with that. It's just a matter of finding the right marketing for it and the right time to release that, whether it's an LE or as a core line. But definitely something that we're working on. But listen, we've got plenty of cigars. We are in no rush to release anything because luckily we have a very nice portfolio, and we've caught up with a lot of our back order issues. Uh, there's still back order issues. I mean, it's ever since the pandemic, everybody's suffering with that, whether it's one thing or another. But we always try to go into the show super flush. That we can offer everything in our portfolio.
Well, let me ask you because you had mentioned back order cigars, and I know Espinosa makes a lot of cigars for a lot of other brands. What has that been like as far as you guys still have to put your cigars out? And I know a lot of cigars are on back order for
Well,
a lot of brands.
we're really not doing a lot of at the moment. We're not really doing a lot of cigars for other people. It's not like 4 or 5 years ago where, we had 7 or 8 that we were making cigars for. We've been doing some store exclusives for people, that are limited. We don't want to actually, we don't want to do something that's a continued store release because that kind of cannibalizes, you know, the product. So we do when it's somebody that's a loyal customer to Eric, and Eric wants to do it for him. We'll do a store release, and maybe once a year or something like that, just to help. But we're not doing that many.
Lou asks, I don't know what this is referencing to, but you might get it.
All right, so the chicken farmer. Uh, when I first started going to Nicaragua, the first couple times I went to Nicaragua, I went with Eric, and then I started going on my own because I need to spend a week there, and Eric likes to go to Nicaragua for 3 days, maybe 4 at the most, and he wants to come back. I've got no problem staying a week, 6 days. I stayed 14, 16 days once, so I've got no problem staying in Nicaragua. But one of the times I was there, Eric sends his friend Jeff Brown over to the factory. Jeff was working elsewhere at the time. Just take a look at the factory, maybe work on some projects later on. Then later on that evening, I was staying at Los Altos, which is like the industry hotel that everybody stayed at back then. And I was up there having a cigar on the roof, and Jeff Brown walked up and we talked, and I didn't know he was such a funny cat then. I was very, it was the first time really first or second time I met him, so we were kind of very serious. Some guy, some third wheel cat shows up there and starts talking to us about cigars. Guy's barefoot and just he just looks like he's wanted, like on every Marshall's poster. He's like on the FBI's most wanted list. You look at this guy and this guy's wanted for something. And Jeff asked him what he did for a living, and he said he was a chicken farmer. And from that day, the chicken farmer tag has stuck. I mean, I'm not a chicken farmer, but you know, we're chicken farmers. So when I see him, I call him the chicken farmer. He calls me the chicken farmer. But of course, Jeff is a guy he's on Facebook Live every other day. And if I happen to pop in, man, oh my God, we've got royalty here, the chicken farmer. It's insane, and it's such a hard thing to explain because at the end of the day, the story is not nearly as funny as the fact that he calls me chicken farmer and having to explain that because of some wacko, some whack job that was some lug nut that was up there at the warehouse, not the warehouse, at the hotel, asking us questions about cigars when we knew that he was probably wanted in 8 or 9 countries. It might have been a mass murder or something like that.
So you had said a little while back that sometimes it was hard to determine, should we have held this cigar for longer? Should we have put the cigar out right now? What is a cigar that you felt you guys maybe put out a little too fast?
I think that, well, I'm trying to think. We had released Warhead 1 and 2, and they did very well. But Warhead 2 got caught up in the maelstrom that was Laranja. The Laranja Reserve was such a hit for our company that everything kind of fell by the wayside. And while we did sell our allotment of Warhead 2s, the next year we didn't release a Warhead because, well, maybe it's met its run. I said no, I argued, no, listen, everything suffered against Laranja. Laranja was just overwhelming. It just absolutely overwhelmed us at the show. I mean, it was a big hit at the show. It was there was a lot of buzz at the show. It hit the top 25 for CA. It hit the top 25 and several other of the cigar media guys. I think that in retrospect, at times we should have released fewer new things at a time at the show, and maybe release them during the year instead of where one can kind of fall behind the popularity of another one. Azulejo, like you said, Azulejo is a fantastic cigar.
It's my favorite.
That is just now in the last 6-7 months really started to take off for us. It happened with Oscuro. Oscuro really was it was a fantastic cigar, but it wasn't getting the press that we thought it needed to get. And then, as luck would have it, Cigar Snob names it Cigar of the Year, and then we've been very steady with it ever since. Knuckle Sandwich was a boon for us, but a lot of things were caught up in that jet stream that you see how well the Knuckle Sandwich did, and then you're like, well, this didn't do great. Well, it didn't do great not because it's not a good cigar. It didn't do great because this did so well.
Correct. It's a difference. It's a big difference.
Absolutely. So we are much more cognizant now. Last year we released 5 new cigars, but that was a special instance last year because it was our 10th year, and we did 2 10-year anniversaries, and we did the Knuckle Sandwich was new, and all these other cigars. We had so many at the show. This year, 3 LEs, 1 for Knuckle Sandwich, 2 for Espinosa. Those will fly. Plus, we'll be talking about some size line extensions and sizes that are very popular that we haven't made before, that people have been clamoring for, that I know are gonna be great. So yeah, that's the issue right there. I mean, as other cigars that we've made that we probably should have gone back to the drawing board. I think I have a little regret with Reggae and Dread. That Jamaican tobacco was not really all that we thought it would be. I mean, we did the best we could with it, and we still own it. You never know; you might see it again. But outside of that, there's nothing there. There really is nothing in our portfolio that we can point at and go no. But just think of it. We really haven't kicked anything off the portfolio ever. I mean,
No,
nothing,
you have.
nothing that's not been an LE. I mean, we may do in the future. We may do some size reductions just based on the wave of what people are smoking nowadays. You know,
Yeah.
everybody talks about Lanceros like you're smoking a Lancero, and you tell me you love Lanceros, but Lanceros are a small.
They
There are
don't sell.
they're just a small portion of sales. Even though all the nerds love Coronas and Corona Gordas and Lanceros, uh, where it's at right now is Toro. Toro is the size in every Vitola, every brand that we make. Toro is the size that does the best. Toro does very well, and when our larger robustos, our 5.5 by 54 or 56, they do very well as well.
And
Toro's
you know
where it's
what?
at.
I was just saying, you know what? It is. It's and so is the 660s. Like those are becoming ever popular.
They are. They are.
Um, what's crazy to me is that the Lancero is dropped so much in popularity. When you actually like look at the old movies of cigars, that's really all they had predominantly were the Lanceros and their
Ryan,
long
this is a
Canatelas.
this is a wave. This industry's a
For
wave.
sure, for sure.
What there was a year nobody was doing Connecticut's. Then a couple of Connecticut's came out, and then the next year a bunch of Connecticut's came out.
Same with broadleaf.
Cameroon was all the rage. Cameroon was all the rage 3 or 4 years ago. It's sizes and wrapper. Those go through six cycles. And we've got to try to be ahead of the game. So and that's really hard. You're trying to project or forecast what what's going to be hot in July. But we've been, like I said, we've been very lucky on that.
I want to kind of circle back here real quick because Cody's a very close friend of mine, but he asked a question here. He's curious, and I could answer this question for him, but you could answer it better. How much actual input did Guy have in the knuckle sandwich line?
Listen, Guy, while I told you the story, while Eric was talking to him when we met at the warehouse that first time, I was plying him with cigars, trying to get a baseline of what he liked. And then once the cigars were made, I mean, they were sent to him for him to try it. And so it's not like he didn't. We didn't just put it out without him. It's a guy who's very careful and he's very he's got to be very protective of his. He's got to be very protective of his brand. So he wants to make sure that anything that he's going to put his name on is something that he likes and he's worthy of. So for sure, he did have input. He's had input on everything. Hell, the 55 was the idea of us doing a 55 was for his birthday. He wanted to do a birthday
Correct.
cigar, and then we ran with we'll do a 55. We'll do a 5 by 55. We'll make it oval. We'll put it. And we went with that whole 55 thing, and it was a monster.
Yeah,
That cigar was that whole little campaign was monstrous.
I know. I missed the boat in the release, and I've been trying to beg, borrow, and steal to even get one. So Cody, if you want to hear more of an in-depth origin of Espinosa and Guy Fieri, all you got to do is 2 weeks back go listen to KMA. Eric doesn't say anything other than really high, but but Guy takes the show over and really gives a very in-depth breakdown of how the brand was created, how their friendship was started, and definitely a very good breakdown of it. Now, Kevin brings up, comically brings up a good point. Every time I feel like I turn around, there's a new name for a size. Why do manufacturers keep coming out with new names or names because it's a 48 instead of a 46, or like traditionally it's Robusto Toro Churchill, am I right?
Traditionally it's
You gotta
Corona
tell them.
Gorda, Corona Gorda. When I got into the industry, it was Corona Gorda, Robusto, Toro, Churchill. Then I'd say a couple of years in, the 6x60 joined the fray. and then you do limited releases on, you do a limited Corona, a limited Lancero. If you want to be if you're doing Parejos, then maybe you'll do a special size, a box press. As for the names, it's all marketing. Listen, uh, you call Steve out, but you guys love him.
Joking.
If no, jokingly, you guys love him. If he
We
called
do.
it Shamalama, if he called it Shamalama Ding Dong, you guys would be buying the Shamalama Ding Dong, and shamelessly would go into a shop and say, "Let me get a Shamalama Ding Dong." You know,
Yes, yes.
so you. The reason people name it these things is that the consumer likes it. The consumer likes it. I mean, what's the difference between a Toro and a Super Toro and a I've seen the Toro. I've seen the 6x60. It's called the 6x60. It's called the Toro Extra. It's called the Gordo. You know, you can have all these different names for it. Uh, we have to just come to grips with the fact that we know of robustos or robustos, maybe. If a guy wants to, I saw a guy. He has a 5x50, but now it's a 4 7/8 by 50. So he wants to call it a Rothschilds. Is it really a Rothschilds? No. Is it really a Robusto? Well, no, not really. And since we don't have a naming police and or size police, well, not one with any kind of enforcement power. This is going to continue. You have the A, and then somebody called. Then I think Micallef did the small letter A,
The
or
little A. The little A,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's what do you want me to tell you, bro? I mean, the guys who get paid much more money to do this marketing stuff, and guys like Steve and guys like Eric, and they can they can say something off the cuff like that, and it becomes the size, and people love it. What's a 4x38? Is it half a Lancero, or is it half a Lancero, or as people were calling it a couple of years ago, the Weasel? It's a Weaselito. Is it a Weaselito? Is that really a size? No, but that's what it's known as. So I mean, listen, I know that it could be a pain. I don't, and since I don't really ask for a particular, when I go to a shop, I pick out the cigar myself. I don't ask for the Shamalama Ding Dong, and it doesn't hurt that if you can use your name, your eponymous name, and then work off that, like he has with the Saka Khan and the Chaka Khan, why not? If you can do that, why not?
Absolutely.
Listen,
Absolutely.
you're trying. At the end of the day, you want to make your cigar as memorable as you can, and you try to do that not just by making a good cigar, but maybe giving it great packaging, and also giving it a name that's pretty unforgettable. Listen, what is the let's talk about. People gave us a lot of shit in the beginning because we did. I wanted to name Wasabi. My vote for Wasabi's name was Kermit Johnson because it looked all right, but we didn't really want to get sued by
Oh God.
by the children's television net shop. The children's television workshop. Because it had Kermit the Frog's name in it. So but Fuente has a cigar named the PJ. Everybody knows what the hell that cigar is. But nobody says anything. Nobody gives a shit about that.
But I'm telling you right now, I will forever be calling the wasabi the Kermit Johnson.
My good friends at Blackworks make a cigar called Morphine. That's there. I've got nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that name. It's a great name for a cigar. The hardest part in this industry is giving a cigar a name. Making a cigar is pretty damn easy, I think. It's naming a cigar, finding the name of a cigar that hasn't been taken, hasn't been used, that somebody hasn't trademarked or squirreled away for 5 years. That's the hardest part. Doing that is incredibly hard. Getting a name, especially a name that'll stick. We like Crema. Crema was a great name.
Great.
Crema was
It's my
Crema.
wife's favorite cigar.
That's a great name. Crema was a great name. Laranja was a great name. Even if you
Yes.
don't say it, even though there's
Orange.
17 different ways to say it,
Yeah.
Oscuro, Aceleo. I mean, those things took a lot of time to figure out, and you're trying to make it. You're trying to make the cigar memorable in every possible way, whether it's the way you present it, whether that the cigar itself is just spectacular or it's just got a catchy name. You know, CLE did that a couple of years ago. CLE had a run there where they did Azawache, they did Chile, they had these really cool names for their cigars, and I think that helped.
So I just got to say, something that I thought was really, really cool that Jack did. And Jack knows who I am. And I'm not saying it's because Jack knows us but when there wasn't enough La Crema at TGS, it sold out quick. And it was the cigar that you guys were actually giving away in the TGS pack. And, my wife and my neighbor's wife walked up to Jack, and I had previously introduced Jack to my wife and neighbor, and they were like, "Is there any way we could get La Crema? Like, we really love." And Jack actually took 2 bundles out and brought them to the register, unboxed just the bundles, and let my wife and my wife and neighbor get a box, and get a bundle. That made pretty much the entire event for her, that somebody kind of went out of the way to do that, and that was amazing. And that's how much you guys actually care about your customers.
Listen, what what benefit does it have our company for us to tell you no or to not figure out an alternative or a plan or a way to get it done? Because then you'll walk away with a bad taste in your mouth. Going, "Oh, these guys couldn't have. I wasn't asking for anything free. I wanted them to help us. I wanted you to help us. We're in the business of selling cigars. All right. We're in the business of selling cigars. Abe's in the business of selling cigars. So whether you got a bundle or a box, you ended up with the cigar you wanted and you were happy. And I know that you'll come back to Crema. So why would we not facilitate that however we could?
Yeah, my wife won't let me touch them. Literally, there's like 3 boxes of her cigars in the humidor. She's like, "Don't touch them. They're mine." And I'm like, "But I really like them." And she goes, "Tough. You have so many others to choose from."
Life's hard.
And La Crema is one of hers.
Life's hard, buddy. Life's hard.
So is there let me ask this. What was the cigar that the name was created for before the blend, if there was one for Espinosa? And then a part 2, what you're thinking is it harder to create a blend with a name already thought of, or is it harder to create one without it?
You know, it, I think in my time there, we came up with a great name for a cigar, and then we made a cigar for that name, which was Alibi. You know, the Alibi was a great name, and then we came up with a cigar for it. But mostly, they kind of work hand in hand. Like I want to do this Connecticut. All right, we're going to do a Connecticut, and I think Crema is a good name for it. But it's not like we can, we think of the cigar that we want to do, then we think about a name. So they kind of go hand in hand. That we're not. There are some companies that they have these names that they've registered, and then they'll make a cigar for that name, or they'll make a cigar for the box or the whatever. That's not us. We don't do that. But we kind of give it thought. There's a lot of back and forth on that. Sometimes, like the 6 provinces, the idea and the concept was done way before there was a cigar. Bless you, way before the cigar was done. But now that the cigar has a profile and the cigar has been made for several years, now it's not a matter. Now we know what's next, and we make a cigar for that province. For what we think is a good representation of that province. So yeah, we really don't have a list of cigar names that we're ready to that we kind of go. We kind of kick it around that same day.
So you guys just don't sit there and trademark 1,000 names every year and
No, that's not us. That's not us. That's not us.
So what is the biggest lie told in cigars, in your opinion, to the consumer? And whether it be from a magazine or from, not necessarily from manufacturer. And when I say lie, I mean, what is the biggest wives' tale, per se, in the cigar world that you know of, where you're just like, That's not really the case.
Wow. See, the thing is that you can. I have an idea of what I think is, but coming from my background, you unless you can vet it, you can't. You shouldn't really make that kind of assumption. You know, I think I always kind of my eyebrow gets furrowed a little bit. My eyebrow kind of goes up a little bit when I hear this is made this is made with some tobacco that we found, that we had lying around. I mean, that's the one that kind of like, really, you had it lying around. I mean, did you not? Do you not do inventory where you guys, you just happen to have 120 pounds of this, green sucker filler that you didn't know you had? And I think that's kind of a. But listen, it's an industry full of it's an industry where story sells the cigar. Maybe the first time, then the cigar has to be good to sell itself the second time. So and consumers like the stories. This bale right here, oh my God, this bale right here, it was underneath a table in the warehouse in the back, and I don't know how it got there. And then one day we were cleaning it, and we saw that it's 17 years old. And listen, there are some companies that do have that kind of inventory. There are some large ones uh, that have that kind of reserve of old tobacco. But I think that's one of the ones that kind of make me go, hmm. And then the other one is like Chrissy just said,
Yeah.
a lot of the guys who take it upon themselves as who made themselves reviewers, or who made themselves cigar reviewers, who well, listen, anybody can be a cigar reviewer if you smoke and you enjoy cigars. Anybody can be a cigar reviewer, okay? Because your opinion, your taste buds are just as
Irrelevant.
validated as are relevant as mine. Now,
Yes.
some guys some guys may go above and beyond a little bit, trying to make their palate just a little too special. I mean, when I taste weird, like we had a cigar where the guy said he tasted weird taco meat. Listen, bro, do you, do you work at a food truck, or did you drop into did you stop and get some tacos and put your cigars in there by mistake, and then you got home? Uh, I work with me here, bro. Don't make it easy for me to rag on you, because I taste leather, but it's English leather. No, it's Spanish leather, not English leather. Kind of like on a ball gag. I mean, who says that? I mean, you know, it's like and the cigar had an aroma of cranberries, but cranberries grown on a northern bog, not a southern bog. Or or coffee, but coffee that's grown on the west side of the mountain. Nobody has that kind of. And you know what? If you can get away with it, more power to you. But listen, I've never. I'm dying to have a conversation with somebody who talks to me like that, because I would just like to slap the shit out of them. I mean, what are you talking? You know,
Oh
and
yeah.
one of my other favorites is when you have guys telling you, I like your cigar, but I think the cigar would have. Well, I do have a pretty good story, actually. I'll tell you that in a minute. But when guys who don't know what's in the cigar will tell you, I think the cigar, you had a different priming. What are you talking about? No, I mean, if it had, you don't know what's in that cigar. You don't know what's in the cigar. I sadly, since I have this unfortunate thing that happens to me every once in a while. People will bring me a cigar. Hey, tell me what's in it. What am I, a fucking monkey? Smoke, monkey, smoke. Tell me what's in this monkey. So, I've had guys who were telling me, this would have really, this is really good. I wonder what it would have tasted like with a Sumatra wrapper, and I'll say it would have tasted like shit. It was blended for this. That's how it was working. I had a guy, and it's one of those things where I don't do it. Like I said at the beginning, I didn't do a lot of events, so we had just released a cigar, and the guy walks up to me and he tells me, "Hey, there's Honduran tobacco in this, right?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Well, who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm Hector. I blend that cigar." And he goes, Are you sure? I said, well, yeah, you know,
Are you
pretty sure.
sure?
You know, I'm trying. I don't know this guy, so I'm trying to be, you know, I'm trying to be nice. You know, now look, Chrissy just said it, Honduran tobacco. So 20 minutes go by, and he comes back again, and he goes, "Listen, I'm in the industry. You're in the industry. You can tell me there's Honduran here, right?" I'm like, "No." So now, and I don't like to do this, but I will talk in the third person. Now Hector's angry. So now I'm like, okay, I got to stay away from this guy. So I go to the back of the event, and I'm hiding out for like an hour. So I go get a beer, and when I go get a beer, I turn around and there's the guy, and he tells me, "Listen, this cigar gives me a taste that's and dryness in my mouth that's commensurate with Honduran tobacco." And I went, "There's no fucking Honduran in this tobacco." I've just lost my shit on the guy. What the fuck are you talking about? People turn around. I go, "What happened? This guy's got me crazy with the Honduran and the Honduran." You know, and that was a one time deal. That was pretty funny. But listen, when I give a cigar, if I give a cigar to Willie Herrera, or I give a cigar to Skip, or I give a cigar to a guy who works in the factory, and he says, did you try Viso instead of Seco, or and when you talk to him about what's in it, and he tells you something, that's a guy who's put his hands in the that guy's had his hands in the dirt. That guy's had his hands in there. And and I will tend to take that upon consideration more than some of the guys who just because they've been smoking a long time think they know what they're talking about. It's I'm telling you, this is a very tough. It's a very fine line you have to walk.
It is.
It's like Randy Bush. I get triggered. I get triggered quick. I'm like, but it's I've gotten better. I wasn't very good at that at the beginning. I've gotten better, and when people give me recommendations, I go, oh, well, I'll try that. I'm not going to try that. I already tried that. I already tried that. Trust me. When you're getting this final product, we've tried it every which way. We tried it up and down and sideways, and we tried a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that, and and we're happy where the cigar is. Uh, but listen, they're your customers, and you got to give them an audience. Whether you want to strangle them and put them in burlap and put them on the shelf somewhere, but you gotta give them the time of day.
Now, Lou asks a really good question here. Now, I know you don't necessarily consider yourself a master blender, but I am a firm believer that title is given. So while you're on my show, I will be giving you that title of master blender because that is, in my opinion, a very high honor that if somebody tells other people I'm a master blender, they're not. But if other people go, hey, they're a master blender, then you are. And so I will call that. So from a master blender, what is the proper way to age cigars or tobacco? And when does tobacco typically lose the quote unquote wow factor?
Listen, first off, I always keep my cigars in their cellophane. Always. I always keep it in the cellophane. Um, I have I have noticed in my experience, and I'm sure you'll get other guys who give you their opinions. I think about 18 months, 12 to 18 months. 12 months, they say the cigar. A lot of guys say, "Oh, at 6 months the cigar's perfect. At 12 months, it's exquisite. At 18 months, it's missing something." I mean, maybe the 1 or 2 mph off the top end is gone. I think 18 months is where you start to really see a more significant start to see a noticeable change in the cigars. But like I said, I try not to have any cigar more than a year. A cigar. If there's a cigar in my humidor that's more than a year old, that said I missed it. Now I do have some old Espinosas that I've kept in boxes, and they're not they're not the elements don't get to them. They're still sealed in their box, and I think that has a lot to how you store your cigars has a lot to do with that as well. Listen, I live in Miami. You know, 70 is great until you take your cigar outside, and the relative humidity in Miami is 87. and now you're smoking a mop. It's I store my cigars a little drier because the moment I take them out of the humidor and I take it outside and I light it, it's now I'm dealing with some issues. So that's what I think. As for the master blender thing, I don't. I'm a little. There are guys who've been doing this so many more years than me, and have many more accolades than I do, and I think this is a it's a means to stay a little humble. Listen, you want to. I've been called that 100 times, and I won't say it to myself. I won't say that. I've never said that. I'm just a little uncomfortable with it. That I could say, listen, my CV says, yeah, we've got we've done 45 cigars, 90 plus, and we've had 5 cigars, and we've had 5 cigars in the top 25. We've had a cigar of the year from one magazine. We constantly make Coops lists. We make the developing palates list, the Dojo list. We make all these lists. Yeah, sure, there is an argument for that, but the argument's not going to come from me. And it's not like when we're all together. I don't say, Master Blender Willie, how are you? And
No,
we
of
don't
course, of
we
course.
don't we don't do that. Listen, I think it's a nice descriptor, but it's something I don't really use, and I don't pat myself on the back for that. When they say it, I don't argue anymore because I know that people are saying that out of respect out of respect for you and what you've done and what your company's done and the company you work for's done. But I'm very weird about that. And listen, I think that there are guys out there who have not had the success that we have had and I have had, and who've been doing this 40 years. And I'm a big believer in the tipping point. Sometimes you just are fortunate. You made the right cigar and got it in the right guy's hands, and it got in the other people's hands, and it caught like wildfire. And that's we can look at Laranja, we can look at the Habano, and we can look at the Knuckle Sand. All of those cigars were just, the timing was just good. It was good timing, perfect timing, and they're actually. Jack told me once, when Jack was still working at General, we were walking the show floor, and I said, "Bro, there's a lot of good cigars here this year." And he goes, "There are a lot of great cigars here this year, but you won't hear from most of them. You're not going to hear, because they just didn't. The company didn't get lucky, and it just, the cigar didn't fall in the right hands, or you know, and it's unfortunate."
No, it is. But and again, I'll reiterate, the exact reason you don't consider yourself a master blender is the reason why a lot of people do, because master blender, that title is not something that you could work to attain. It's something, it's like a nickname. It's something that when you hit it, people grace you with that nickname of master blender. And Hector, I know you're a very humble guy, but you've had a fucking hell of a run, and there's no reason for those that are not you to look at you and go, boy, you're not a master blender. Like, no, like, but again, I can't say it enough. The term master blender is a term of endearment that's given
I
to you by
I
others.
agree. I'll take that. Like I said
Yeah.
earlier, I'll accept that. I mean, listen, I've gone to do events, and they've been an event flyer, and I'm a master blender. I'm like, oh man, but listen, they're doing it out of respect. They're doing it for the clientele, because the clientele may not, you may get more when you go to the
Oh,
shop. You'll get more, not pull, but the attention will be, these guys will listen to what you're telling. I mean, they're going to listen anyway. You came from Florida up there to see them, and at the Smoke Shack in North Dakota. They're happy that you're there. But I think sometimes the titles are not there for the people who own them. The titles are there
no,
to impress, and I get it,
correct, correct.
and I get it. And listen, the stuff that we've done, it's all been, my success is firmly, Eric is firmly responsible for my success, because he's the one who brought me to work with him. And whatever success the sales team has, is based on the relationships that Eric had to get this company going. I've said it 100 times, and I'll say it 100 more times before I drop dead, that we are where we are, and we have gotten where we are firmly on his shoulders. And now, in this next 10 years, it's time for us to kind of ease the burden off him and take it in another, continue to go forward in a positive direction. And I just saw somebody posted something about it. It does bother me because I know a lot of guys who call themselves that, and I hear some of these. Oh,
Yeah.
I hear some of these guys, and I can't really go. This is the part where I really can't do any name dropping because we have tried to. We are known within the industry. We are known as really good guys. We're really fun loving guys. We're funny guys. We try to be the life of the party guys. We're fun guys.
Palooza.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm talking about like when we go to the show and we hang out with other manufacturers.
Oh,
We're
sure.
cool guys. We're really good. We don't start shit with anybody. We're good guys. But it does bother me. I hear a guy. I'll watch a podcast and the guy's like, I taste colors. And, he gets all. They gets into this intricate shit. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I think I've had one blow up in my 11 or 12 years. Yeah, in my 12 years, I've had one instance where one guy in the industry, in the kind of same position I'm in, said something to me that frosted my ass a little bit. So my first reaction was to grab him, but you can't just go around grabbing guys by the throat because it's not cool. But he said something like, we can, if I could have helped, I could have fixed that cigar for you. And I kind of looked at him, what are you talking about? He goes, well, that cigar. I go, this cigar, the one that was on the top 25. He goes, yeah, it needed this and that. I said, and I kind of shook my head and I was like, hold on. So I got on my phone and I scrolled and I went to the website and I said, do me a favor, can you find where your cigar is on this top 25 because I didn't see it.
Hector flexing on someone.
I don't like to give you smoke,
Mic
but
drop.
I'm not a guy to bring. I don't like to give you people. I don't like to fuck with people. I don't like to bring any smoke, but the guy pissed me off. So that was pretty much the end. I don't think I've talked to him more than 2 or 3 times ever since then. I mean, that's kind of the situation you're in. So listen, I would never have the audacity to tell somebody, hey, I think you should fix it. I mean, what is that? Matter of fact, one of my favorite things to do, and I haven't done it in a while because he's been traveling a lot and I've been traveling a lot. I like to sit with Willie. Me and Willie go to his. I go to Willie's house and we'll smoke nothing but test blunts, and I love that. I like that finished product. Okay, well we'll smoke the finished product. That's great, but I like the testing part. What were you thinking about this? What did you do this? What were you going for with this? What is in this? Did you scale this back? Did you scale? I like that. That's the part I like. Once the finished product, well, it's done. It's kind, but it's lost kind of its excitement for me. Once it's in the finished product, okay, it's the finished product. But I like the building part. That's the part I really like.
How many iterations of a cigar do you go through on average before you release?
Well, in the beginning, I have in my locker at the office, I probably have some cigars, and this goes against what we were talking about earlier. I have some cigars that we made like in the first year. That were, that people, I have them just so when I smoke them, I can remember how awful they were. Like Bunker Buster was like 7 iterations of Buster. It was 7 versions of Bunker Buster until we went from 7 to 3, and then out of those 3, we picked the one that was Bunker Buster. Now there are some that have been hits right away, like Knuckle Sandwich Connecticut was a hit right away. That was a 1 blend done. Oscuro was a 1 and done. I think there's one more that was the 6 provinces, the first 6 provinces. All of them since then pretty much have all been one. Well, that's not the first one was 1 and done, and then everyone else has been like 2 versions. I have two iterations of it of what I think we should go with, and then we picked there. Crema was I did 5 Connecticut's that time, but all 5 of them became something. One became Cornelius and Anthony cigar. One became Themis. One became Crema. One became the cigar for the guys from Moya Ruiz. So I mean, I did 5 Connecticut's, and all of them were snatched up. So, the TAA, the Murciélago de Oro, 1 and done. That was a one blend, and that's it. We smoked it and go. That's the one. But sometimes some take a little bit longer. L'Orange took a little bit longer. Habano, we reblended Habano after the first couple of years because it just didn't have enough of that little spice note that he wanted. But we were so new that it didn't affect sales. I mean, it was just, it was like our second, third year. Uh, Warhead was a one and done. Warhead was a very simple change. This is the blend. We put a different wrapper on it. We smoked it. We loved it. That became that. So sometimes it's at the beginning it was more, because I was still learning and I was, and it's not about learning every single tobacco. It was about learning what he liked at the beginning, and then after that it was more of this is, we don't have this type of cigar in our portfolio. We don't have this type of cigar in our portfolio. But now at the most I might do three at the most, usually two, but three at the very, very most. Especially if there's a tobacco that I get a chance to use that I haven't used before, I'll make two of them with that particular to see if we can narrow it down, if we can hit on one of those.
Well, you know, that's good because that keeps costs down, keeps R&D costs down. You listen to some people, they're like, "Oh, we went through 15 blends to get this good one."
Listen, that has a lot to do with the tobacco you're using. It also has a lot to do with, that might be user error too. I mean, listen, you've got to be when when you're blending and smoking the stuff that you've blended, you got to make sure your palate's in the right place. You can't have, we're going to smoke tonight and pick a blend. What did you have for dinner? I went and had spicy Thai food. I went and had spicy Thai food all night, and then or spicy Mexican food, and I'm gonna sit down and try to nail a blend down. No, you got to be in the right. You got to be in the right place. Your palate has to be in the right frame of mind, I guess, so to speak. You have
Well,
to you have to be ready.
no,
And,
absolutely.
and the most important thing, how many times have we smoked a cigar over there that was and then we smoked another one which is fantastic there, and then when we bring them here, it's a complete reversal.
Yeah,
That's
elevation plays the thing.
so and how many times have we smoked a cigar here in Miami where it's sea level with 80% humidity, and you're smoking it in Buffalo where it's 16 degrees outside. So that's and a lot of you see that too. Oh man, I'm smoking my wrapper, dude. You're smoking outside. It's 30 degrees. Are you insane? What are you doing? I know that you're trying to smoke where you can, but weather can wreak havoc on a cigar.
Oh yeah, and
Absolutely. I mean,
I think that's why you guys do very well out here in Colorado, is because at the elevation we are, a lot of people here like to have the medium to full because it's got a better. Connecticut's at 7,300 feet where I live, 7,500 feet, don't have a whole lot of oomph to them. It's not that they're bad, and I only experienced this when I went to TGS, and in Florida, I'm like, wow, these cigars actually taste a little bit differently.
I'm sure they should.
And so I think that's why you guys do so well up here in the mountain areas, is because you produce a fuller body cigar most of the time.
And then you talk to guys who I really like your stuff. I really like your. Do you retrohale? No. I wish you would. But
Yes,
listen. It goes back to what we said earlier. If the guy doesn't retrohale, you can't teach him how to retrohale. If you try, you kill the guy by accident. Now you're stuck like Chuck. You can only. I only say, listen, you're missing out. If you like the flavor of this cigar now, you're going to love it if you ever retrohale it, and then
correct,
hopefully they'll get around to doing it.
correct. So closing question for the night: what is one thing that Hector today would tell Hector at the beginning of the company, advice wise?
Oh man. What would Hector of today? What would Hector of today told Hector of 10 years ago or 12 years ago?
Yes.
Uh, I'd tell him we're just hang on, just hold up, just wait. We're gonna pop. I never, but that's unfair, Ryan, because it's unfair of me to say that because I never doubted that we would because of him, the way he is, the way
He's a
that,
presence.
and not just, he's a presence and he's very positive, and he was. Listen, this is a guy who took his kid out of college to come work for him. It's a guy who was very confident in the success that this company would have, and I don't want to say there were dark times, but there were some times that you went, we really were, at the beginning we were really behind the eight ball. We launched this, he opened this company on the 12th or the 7th of February. We had our first cigar launch on March 23rd. The show was in July. We were really up against the clock there. And then our first year, our booth was we were in the loading dock. I mean, we saw more union workers than we did customers that first year. But that by the end of that first show, though, by the last couple of days, the orders started to come in. People were looking for him. They were happy to see him. And then, the progression's been there. What I think I would tell what I think I would have told Hector is, just relax. It's, because there were times where, like, are we headed in the right direction? But we got a lot of breaks. I mean, just a lot of things fell in our favor, and uh, and we kind of all grew into our roles there, and then we started to add pieces. You know, you started to add sales staff, and then we got our first administrative support, and then we got a national sales manager with a CV in sales, and that helped. And then we got our first in-house reps. So I mean, we've grown every year. We grow in one particular way or the other, whether it's sales, obviously, but infrastructure, the quality of cigars, the amount of cigars, we just keep growing. And we started an 800 square foot warehouse where we had no product, where we were sitting on top of each other, where the humidor that we built in that place took up 65 or 70% of the warehouse space we had. But we pressed and we pressed, and we made cigars, and we did trips, and we did social media, and we're doing what we're doing now. And every chance we got to be on a podcast, we were on the podcast, and talking about Espinosa, talking about Espinosa, talking about Espinosa. And it was 2015 when Laranja hit, that I said to myself, I go, yeah, we're not going anywhere. I think we've got all four wheels on the road, and that was only 3 years after we started.
Well, I will tell you, Espinosa Cigars has made the cigar world better in every way. Both you, Eric, Jack, Guy Jr., and Richie have been just absolutely needed in the cigar world when you guys came around. You put out a great product, and I think 30 years from now, 40 years from now, when you're gone and Eric's gone, the Espinosa brand will continue to live on, and will always be known as one of the legacy brands that came later. Obviously, I do firmly think that Espinosa will always go down in history as one of the better.
Well, we,
Well,
we appreciate that. I mean, I'd hate to know my mortality is set at 30 to 40 years, but okay, I can live with that. 86 is
okay.
86 is a long time to live, but I'm okay with that. Listen.
Well,
We as a company, we have we we don't take ourselves too seriously. We have a lot of fun with what we do. We have good personalities that work there. We all get along. We all argue, we fight, but we get along. We like each other. Uh, it's I came from a world which is completely different, very structured world. And, squad level work is a lot of fun. You're with these guys 3 or 4 years, and then there's always some change, and then you move on to another assignment. This is the longest I've ever been anywhere. This is 12 years. I mean, in my department, my career in the department, I worked 7 here and 7 over there. 7 used to be about the perfect number, about 7 years, and then you move on to another assignment, move on to another assignment, and I've been with these guys 12 years. So that's a lot. I mean, when I look back at my past, that's a lot. But it works. I mean, listen, it works. That we we've gelled, and we've done a really good thing there. Based on, especially if you think where we started from, we are we have done really great work, and it's a tribute to him and to the rest of our staff. And it's a family business. I mean, it's the first time I've ever worked for a family business. The things that we do there are, our family. They're a lot of family theme shit. Family always comes first. You got to take time off because you have a sick child or a sick sibling, or my brother passed away, or my mother's sick, or something. That's work. Family is always first there. But we're. I can tell you this. I mean, I know you're getting ready to sign off. I can tell you this. We are all about that company. There is not a single person there that dials it in or calls it in. We go to work every day to make it better, to succeed. At times it's the harbinger of issues because I want to do this, he wants to do that, but it's not nothing is selfish. It's all for the best of the company, and I think you couldn't ask for a better situation, especially when you look around the industry and you see all the movement in the industry. Is I like to call it winter signings. You go to the show, guy leaves here, goes there, guy leaves here, goes there, guy leaves here, goes there. We've added guys, but we don't have that movement. We're the Tampa Bay Rays. We're not the Yankees. We're not bringing free agents in. We bring a guy in, he stays. And we like that. We like the way that's worked out.
Well, I have liked the way Espinosa makes their cigars. Espinosa always has a section in my humidor. I would like to consider Eric to be a good friend. He picks up my phone calls when I call him, or he calls me back. So that's
you're in a good spot. If he's doing that, right? You're fine.
Yeah. Right? That says something. So
if you're getting calls, if he's taking your calls, you're in a good spot. Well, listen, I've never met a guy who gets more phone calls than him. Never.
Oh yeah,
never.
Well, it was funny as we were chasing each other on phone call, and he texted me. He goes, "Tag, you're it."
He's a funny.
So, but Hector, thank you so much for always being willing to come on.
My pleasure. I apologize. Guy. I apologize that Jack couldn't make it.
No, don't worry about
it. Jack's great. Jack's great on these interviews as well, and. But fuck him, he's not here. So
Are you going to Cigar Fest?
No, I don't. I usually don't do those.
You don't do
not with those big like CI Fest, where there's like 6,000 people. That's hard for me, man. That's a lot of pressure on me. I got to behave. I don't know if I can do that. But I'm pretty sure we'll be there. If anything, I know Eric will be there. Eric loves that.
Eric said he was going to try to go to Cigar Fest this year.
He used to host the party where they sold the tickets for that. I mean, that was always an Espinosa thing. He's big into that.
Well, Hector, Espinosa, you, Eric, and anybody in the company always will have a home here at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show.
Thank you so much.
Eric was one of my very first guests ever on this show. I look back 3 years. I've had you on twice this year. I would love to have you and Jack on in the fall. We'll have to set that up. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for always being willing to come on. And I tell you what, everybody, if you reach out to Hector on Messenger and ask him a question, he will answer you. He will be genuine with you.
What are you doing, bro? What are you doing? What are you doing? Can you edit that out? Edit that out. What's wrong with you? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, Hector's somebody that will definitely answer you back and will be honest with you, whether you want to hear the answer or not. He will be honest with you. So Hector, thank you so much for coming on. Stick around at the end of the show here for a second. Everybody, thank you very much for watching. We've had, I will say it, Master Blender, Hector Alfonso Sr., because I am a firm believer that is a title given, not taken. And thank you, everybody, for watching. To all of our sponsors of the show, BAMF Cigars, ROCF, Kristoff, K by Karen, Berger, Sagrado, New Air Humidors, Micallef, Big Sky, Cornell and Diehl, and Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. And tonight I have been drinking the Axe and the Oak Rye, which went very, very well with the Laranja Lancero I had, as well as the Espinosa Habano. So until we see you all again, smoke what you like. Smoke as often as you can. Have a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.